Ahead tonight, find out how much government has increased the minimum wage.
And a bill to ease relations between workers and government passed in the House last night.
Central bankers fighting for their pension. We'll tell you all about it coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Good news for workers nationwide. The government has increased its minimum wage. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. We begin the national news this Tuesday from the labor sector. According to Labor Minister Shane Gibson, the decision to increase minimum wage came after government decided not to terminate the scores of employees hired by the previous administration prior to the 2012 general elections.
Apparently, he revealed in the House of Assembly last night that they were not entitled to the benefits of other full-time employees.
And so we have many persons on the payroll, Mr. Speaker, who we really would like to make permanent and pensionable. Unfortunately, we have not gotten clearance on that yet. We've discussed it and we're looking at doing it, but the fact is we couldn't let them go. But the one thing we could have done was increase the minimum wage, which we did. And so we now increase it from $210 to $225, and that includes contract workers, Mr. Speaker.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employees Confederation, Gowan Bowe, suggested that an increase in minimum wage could mean job losses and businesses may not be able to afford an increase at this time.
Well, if a business has invested $1,000, it wants a 10% return because of the risk it's taken, that's $100. It is going to have to make that profit in order to justify being in existence. If all of its expenses, right, add up and it gives them $100 profit, if minimum wage goes up, that employee wage bill can't go up. I can pay individuals more, but I may pay less individuals and try to squeeze greater productivity out of less individuals. So net on net, have I improved the economy? I've increased the income of certain employees, but I've reduced the employment of others.
So job losses could.
So, and it's not, that's not a doom and gloom projection. Right. It's saying that businesses don't have a money tree. So there's not an infinite supply of monies to pay employees. And so from that perspective, we have to be very, very careful when we're heaping costs onto business.
Still on labor, this time from Parliament, the Tripartite Act 2014 passed in the House of Assembly last night. Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe standing firm behind the presence of unions in the workforce and the importance of Bahamians holding top managerial posts in the nation's #1 sector.
Yes, echoing similar sentiments was Labor Minister Shane Gibson, who revealed that government continues to stand behind workers and their rights, citing a recent intervention by the Prime Minister in saving hundreds of jobs from the largest private sector employer. We get that story tonight from Clint Watson.
As government works to create new jobs, they're also battling the preservation on scores of others. What appears to be a weakening commercial banking sector has left many Bahamians unemployed as their jobs head further south in the Caribbean. Then there's the ongoing challenges in the #1 industry, where employee-employer relations continue to face mounting issues. The most recent revelation involving some 300 possible job layoffs at Atlantis, coming from Labor Minister Shane Gibson in the House of Assembly Monday afternoon as he wrapped up debate on the Tripartite Bill 2014.
Do you know, Mr. Speaker, that last year, Atlantis wanted, around September, they wanted to send home about 300 employees because of what's happening over there. The Prime Minister was made aware of it. He sat down with them and they negotiated a position where they stayed on the job.
A statement from Atlantis confirmed this. Senior Vice President of Public Affairs Ed Field said they had contemplated increasing the amount of seasonal staff reductions in September, October, and November in a couple of the towers due to very low occupancies. However, they worked successfully with government to avoid having to do so.
We have to move away from allowing people to work around unions. We have to move away from that because the workers do not benefit as they should. And half of the time when the workers are trying to build a life, they can't even build a life. They can't go to the bank. They can't do anything because the banks will tell them, well, you don't have permanent employment. They're telling them that you have difficulties because you have not become normalized or regularized. Something's wrong with that, Mr. Speaker.
Head of the nation's largest industry, Tourism Minister Obie Wilscombe, reflecting in general on the industry, notes that there needs to be greater respect by employers when it comes to the involvement of unions as they seek to preserve jobs.
Because, Mr. Speaker, we do have in the country the all-inclusives, and they found a formula. So the formula should continue for all, Mr. Speaker, because when you come to the Bahamas as an investor, you still have to ensure that you follow the patterns that exist in the country and ensure that the Bahamian workers are taken care of. Because, sir, if we don't do that, then yes, we are working against the people and not for the people.
Minister Wilscombe chided Melia Resort and their ongoing dispute with the hotel union regarding the gratuity paying system, wanting to pay less than what employees have been receiving.
And what is the reason when many are so qualified? Many have had opportunities. We have been in the tourism industry for more than 50 years now. And the truth is, Mr. Speaker, it is my personal view, and I strongly believe this, that more Bahamian managers should be sitting in the top tier. Yep. I honestly believe that, Mr. Speaker, because, and I can tell you, we have had a difficulty where we do not believe that Bahamians can do certain things. We ran hotels before. Bahamians were at the top.
The tourism minister cautioned the government to ensure that employers don't find ways of working around their contractual agreements regarding workers. In fact, he noted that any issues involving unions at tourism, he personally gets involved in to bring resolution. He also called into question why more Bahamians are not managing and leading the tourism industry, noting that there was a time when Bahamians were in positions throughout the country.
I'm not against the foreigner who comes in to work, nothing against it. I'm saying, though, I'd like to see a very clear path of more Bahamians making it to the top.
Minister Wilscombe believes the greatest development is human capital and that the government must ensure that Bahamians are getting the opportunities.
Thanks a lot, Clint. We're also learning tonight more details on what happened when government tried to intervene and save the jobs of scores of workers at Baha Mar who were dismissed just before Christmas. Minister Gibson said it was the vagueness of an agreement between Baha Mar and the former Free National Movement government that prohibited them from further intervention.
The agreement with Baha Mar was amended by them. They put an agreement in place that said that Baha Mar would keep a minimum number of persons employed, I think which was around 1,500. They never said anything that would secure the jobs of those persons who were already working down there at Baha Mar. So what Baha Mar did, they hired a bunch of young people here, brought the numbers up, and then just paid off the rest and sent them home, Mr. Speaker. And they said, listen here, see the agreement? Yeah. The agreement said I could do that. But I said, but who signed the agreement? They said them. They signed the agreement.
A joint statement issued today from the Office of the Prime Minister and Baha Mar confirmed that Prime Minister Perry Christie recently referenced China Construction completing their construction work by March 27th, and with the employment process ultimately having people ready by June 1st. Now, the June 1st date refers to the grand opening celebrations this spring and not the March 27th soft opening date. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie and the chairman of Baha Mar, Sarkis Ismailian, met with officials from China Construction of America and the Export-Import Bank in Beijing back in January, where they received the necessary assurances that the resort will be ready for guests on March 27th.
It's an issue that's been smoldering for the last 4 years, and this past December, it came to a head. We're talking about central bankers and the unilateral changes to their pension fund. It started out as a benefit, but was eventually changed to a defined contribution, and that's not sitting well with the Bahamas Communications and Public Managers Union. Jimenita Swain tells us that the union has the full support of other local unions with a view of getting justice.
President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Managers Union, Ricardo Thompson, said for the last 37 years, central bankers have contributed 5% of their salaries to the pension fund. He adds, however, that changes to the fund have meant losses by as much as $30,000 for some employees.
The bankers reached a collective bargaining agreement where they failed to have meaningful and adequate consultation. The result of this breach has severely injured our members, and their unwillingness and refusal to engage in good industrial practice has left us with no other alternative but to seek legal relief.
The move, Thompson said, comes after the bank ignored attempts by the union to resolve the matter amicably. And according to Thompson, the bank also ignored a complaint filed with the Department of Labor. The union's attorney, Alfred, says that the bank has the right under the pension plan to alter the terms of the agreement. That was, he added, until they signed an agreement with the union.
In the collective bargaining agreement, the central bank committed itself not to unilaterally change the terms and conditions of employment. Secondly, the central bank committed itself to consult with the unions whenever it contemplated or wanted to change any aspect of the pension plan.
The union president said more than 200 managers and non-managers who have been with the bank between 20 to 40 years have been impacted. Says that the union wants a resolution.
Or the remedy is being sought is to rescind the unilateral action that the bank has taken, and also to restore persons who would have been adversely impacted to their original position. And certainly there's the issue of costs.
The union has also called for government to bring forth legislation to protect pensions, particularly as this issue has national implications. Jimenita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Now, ZNS News also reached out to officials from the Central Bank of the Bahamas for a comment. Governor Wendy Craig said she was not aware of the press conference today and opted not to comment on this matter at this time.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.